I never thought I would be the father who lost his daughters to lies. For 15 years, I was devoted to Emily and Sophia, coaching soccer teams, helping with science projects, and tucking them in with bedtime stories. Then my marriage to Melissa fell apart, and she turned our daughters into weapons against me. The spying started small questions about my routine, who visited my apartment. Then came the ultimate betrayal. My 16-year-old Emily stood in court, tears streaming down her face, claiming I had touched her inappropriately. A complete fabrication orchestrated by her mother. The judge believed her. I lost everything that day. If you have experienced the pain of family betrayal, I understand your heartache. Please subscribe and like this video, and let me know where you are watching from, as I share how my daughter finally reached out, but only because she needed something from me. I was Mark Wilson, 39 years old, and a structural engineer with a respected firm in Portland. My life had always been built on precision, stability, and careful planning, both professionally and personally. Growing up with parents who stayed married for 50 years gave me a blueprint for family life that I was determined to follow. I believed in commitment, in working through problems, in the sanctity of family bonds. I met Melissa during my final year of graduate school. She was working as an event coordinator at the hotel, hosting an engineering conference. Vibrant and charming, with an infectious laugh, she captivated me immediately. Her spontaneity balanced my methodical nature. Where I was reserved, she was expressive. Where I calculated, she followed instinct. I proposed 6 months later during a sunrise hike at Mount Hood, and we were married within the year. The early years were blissful. We bought a craftsman-style house in a family-friendly neighborhood, planted a garden together, and talked about our future children over dinner. Melissa continued her event planning work while I established my career. 2 years into our marriage, Emily was born, a perfect 7-pound baby girl with my blue eyes and Melissa's dark hair. Sophia followed 2 years later, completing our family. I threw myself into fatherhood. I took paternity leave for both girls, learned to change diapers and prepare bottles, and spent evenings rocking them to sleep while singing off-key lullabies. As they grew, I coached their soccer teams, built elaborate backyard forts, and established Saturday morning pancake traditions. I taught Emily to ride a bike and cheered at Sophia's ballet recitals. We took family camping trips every summer, exploring the Pacific Northwest and creating memories I thought would last a lifetime. The first fractures in our marriage appeared gradually. Melissa became increasingly critical of my parenting style, claiming I was too rigid with schedules and rules. "You are suffocating them with your expectations," she would say when I insisted on homework before television or vegetables before dessert. Her event planning business had grown successful, resulting in longer hours and weekend work. I supported her career, adjusting my schedule to accommodate hers and taking on more household responsibilities. But her behavior began to change. She became protective of her phone, changed passwords on her laptop, and would step outside for calls that came late in the evening. The girls noticed the tension. "Why are you and Mom fighting again?" Emily asked one evening after Melissa and I had exchanged sharp words about her missing another family dinner. I tried to shield them from our problems, maintaining routines and creating positive experiences despite the growing discord at home. Then came the business trip to San Diego that changed everything. Melissa had forgotten her tablet, and when a notification sound kept chiming, I checked it thinking it might be work-related. Instead, I found dozens of intimate messages between her and Jason, her business partner. The exchanges dated back nearly a year and made it clear their relationship had crossed professional boundaries months ago. When confronted, Melissa initially denied everything, then shifted to blaming me. "You have been emotionally absent for years," she claimed, "always focused on the girls or work. Jason actually sees me as a woman, not just a mother and housekeeper." The argument escalated until she admitted there had been others before Jason, brief affairs that meant nothing. "Just physical needs being met," she said dismissively, as if that somehow lessened the betrayal. I suggested marriage counseling, willing to work through the infidelity for our daughter's sake. Melissa agreed half-heartedly, attending 3 sessions before declaring it a waste of time. "I am not in love with you anymore," she said one night as we sat at our kitchen table after the girls had gone to bed. "I want a divorce." Despite the heartbreak, I committed to making the separation as amicable as possible for Emily, then 14, and Sophia, 12. We agreed on joint custody, with the girls spending alternating weeks at each household. I found an apartment nearby to maintain their school routines and friendships. We told the girls together, emphasizing that our love for them remained unchanged, and that the divorce was about issues between adults, not anything they had done. The first 6 months of co-parenting went relatively smoothly. The girls adjusted to the new arrangement, and Melissa and I maintained civil communication focused on their needs. I made sure to create a comfortable space for them in my apartment, replicating elements from their rooms at home, and establishing new traditions like Sunday morning bike rides and Thursday game nights. I believed we were navigating the divorce as well as could be expected. I had no idea that Melissa was quietly sowing seeds of destruction that would soon devastate the relationship I cherished most in the world. The shift happened so gradually, I almost missed it. Emily and Sophia became increasingly secretive during their stays with me. They would whisper to each other when I entered a room and abruptly end phone calls. Emily, once open about her thoughts and feelings, became guarded and evasive when I asked about school or friends. "Everything is fine, Dad," she would say with a dismissive shrug. "You worry too much." Sophia, always the more sensitive of the two, seemed uncomfortable during our conversations, her eyes darting away when I tried to connect. When I suggested activities we had previously enjoyed together, they suddenly had homework or plans with friends. One evening, I overheard Emily on the phone in her bedroom. "Yeah, he just ordered pizza again," she was saying. "Nobody came over tonight. He spent most of the time in his office working." "I know, Mom, I will text you if anything changes." My stomach dropped as I realized what was happening. My daughters were reporting my activities to their mother. They had become spies in my home, gathering information for reasons I could not fathom. The next morning, I gently confronted Emily. "I heard you talking to your mom last night. Are you reporting on me? If so, I would like to understand why." Emily's face flushed with guilt before hardening into defiance. "Mom just wants to make sure we are safe," she said. "She says we need to be careful around you now that you are not together." "Careful, Emily, I am your father. I have never given you any reason not to feel safe with me. Mom says men change after divorce. She says we do not really know what you might do." The conversation left me shaken. What was Melissa telling our daughters to make them distrust me? I called her, trying to keep my voice level as I asked about the monitoring. "The girls need to feel secure," she said coolly. "They are just checking in with me. It is perfectly normal for children to talk to their mother. Checking in is normal. Systematic reporting on my activities is not. You are creating unnecessary anxiety for them. Perhaps you have something to hide." Her tone was insinuating, almost taunting. A week later, I received formal notification that Melissa was filing for full custody. The paperwork cited concerns about my increasingly erratic behavior and inappropriate boundaries with our daughters. I was blindsided. The accusations were vague but sinister, implying I had become unstable and potentially dangerous since the separation. I immediately contacted a family law attorney, Andrew Pearson, who reviewed the filing with a grim expression. "These types of insinuations can be precursors to more serious allegations," he warned. "We need to be prepared for an aggressive custody battle." His prediction proved devastatingly accurate. 3 days later, Melissa filed an emergency petition for a temporary restraining order, claiming Emily had disclosed inappropriate touching of a sexual nature during a recent stay at my apartment. The court granted the order pending investigation, immediately suspending my custody and visitation rights. The allegations were detailed in clinical, horrifying terms. According to the report, I had entered Emily's room late at night on multiple occasions, sat on her bed and touched her inappropriately while she pretended to be asleep. The specific details made it sound credible, though nothing remotely like this had ever occurred. I was ordered to vacate my apartment during a forensic investigation and submit to psychological evaluation. The police interviewed Emily with a child psychologist present. Social services opened a file. My employer was notified of the pending investigation, leading to a temporary suspension with pay. "This cannot be happening," I told Andrew during a strategy meeting in his office. "Emily knows this never happened. Why would she say such things?" Children in high-conflict divorces sometimes make false allegations, often under pressure or manipulation from a parent, he explained. It can be a result of coaching suggestion, or simply trying to please the more dominant parent. The emotional toll was unbearable. Overnight, I had transformed from devoted father to suspected predator. Friends stopped calling. Neighbors avoided eye contact. My parents in their 70s and living in Florida were distraught and confused. My sister flew in from Chicago to provide moral support, one of the few people who never doubted my innocence. The investigation dragged on for weeks. I underwent extensive psychological evaluation which found no indicators of pedophilic tendencies or personality disorders. The apartment examination revealed nothing suspicious. Character witnesses, including colleagues' other parents from the girls' school and my former in-laws who had remained supportive, testified to my dedication as a father. But none of it mattered when Emily took the stand during the custody hearing. Looking small and frightened in a navy blue dress, she recounted the fabricated incidents in a trembling voice, adding new details that had not appeared in the initial report. She claimed to have been too scared and confused to mention everything at first. Watching my daughter lie under oath, tears streaming down her face as she described acts that never occurred, was the most painful moment of my life. I could see Melissa in the background, her expression a mixture of concern and satisfaction. Beside her sat Sophia, pale and silent, eyes fixed on the floor. When the judge ruled to grant Melissa full custody, with only supervised visitation for me, pending completion of psychosexual therapy and parenting classes, something broke inside me. The system designed to protect children had been weaponized through lies, and I had no effective defense against a tearful teenager's testimony. After the hearing, as I sat, shell-shocked in Andrew's office, he laid out our options for appeal. The legal battle would be lengthy, expensive, and traumatic for everyone involved, particularly the girls who would face additional interviews and testimony. Even if we eventually prevail, the relationship with your daughters may be irreparably damaged by the process, he cautioned. Sometimes fighting harder is not what is best for the children, even when you are in the right. His words forced me to confront an agonizing truth. Continuing to fight would mean subjecting Emily and Sophia to years of questioning, evaluations, and courtroom appearances. They would be torn between their mother's manipulations and the truth. The psychological damage could last a lifetime. That night, alone in the hotel room that had become my temporary home, I made the most difficult decision of my life: to stop fighting for custody and remove myself from the situation entirely. The decision to withdraw my custody appeal felt like surrender, but also like the only path that might someday lead to healing. I instructed Andrew to negotiate the terms of my surrender, focusing on establishing a trust fund for the girls' education that Melissa could not access, and setting parameters for potential future contact when they became adults. "You are making this too easy for her," Andrew cautioned. "She made extremely serious false allegations that have damaged your reputation and relationship with your children. There should be consequences." "The only people who would face additional consequences are my daughters," I replied. "I am not giving up because I did anything wrong. I am stepping back because continuing this fight will hurt them more." The final agreement stipulated that I would maintain the education trust, provide mandated child support through a state-managed account, and have no contact with the girls until they turned 18, unless they initiated communication. I would move at least 100 miles away from their residence. In exchange, the sexual abuse allegations would be classified as unfounded due to insufficient evidence rather than dismissed entirely, a small distinction that might help me eventually rebuild my professional reputation. Melissa, through her attorney, expressed satisfaction with the arrangement. She had won everything she wanted: full custody, financial support, and my absence from their lives. The restraining order was modified to allow for potential supervised visits in the future, but we all knew those would never happen as long as Melissa had any influence over the girls. I sold my furniture, donated most of my possessions, and packed my car with only essentials. Seattle seemed far enough away to comply with the agreement, while still allowing me to work within my professional network. I found a small one-bedroom apartment downtown, accepted a position with a new firm, and began the process of rebuilding my life from scratch. The first year was a fog of grief and isolation. I went to therapy twice weekly, working through the trauma of false accusations and the loss of my children. My therapist, Dr. Lowell, specialized in parental alienation cases and provided crucial guidance. "What you are experiencing is ambiguous loss," she explained during one session. "Your daughters are still alive, but you cannot be part of their lives. The lack of closure makes the grieving process particularly difficult." I established strict routines to maintain my mental health: morning runs along the waterfront, immersion in challenging work projects, evening classes in photography, an old interest I had abandoned when the girls were young. I joined a support group for parents separated from their children, finding solace in the shared experiences of others who understood this unique form of heartbreak. Holidays were the hardest. On the girls' birthdays, I wrote them letters they would never receive, purchased gifts I could not give them, and stored everything in a closet that became a time capsule of missed milestones. Christmas morning found me volunteering at homeless shelters, desperate to be useful to someone when I could not be there for my own children. 3 years passed. I had no direct knowledge of the girls' lives, though occasionally mutual acquaintances would mention seeing them or share information about school accomplishments. I learned that Emily had made the varsity swim team and that Sophia was playing violin in the youth symphony. These small details were both comforting and painful glimpses into lives that continued without me. My professional life flourished in the absence of personal distractions. I was promoted to senior project manager, overseeing major infrastructure developments throughout the Pacific Northwest. I dated occasionally but avoided serious relationships, the trauma of my marriage and its aftermath leaving me wary of deep emotional connections. Then, 4 years and 3 months after I had last seen my daughters, an email arrived from an address I did not recognize. Newstart 2022@gmail.com. The subject line read simply, "Dad." My hands shook as I opened it. The message was brief. "This is Emily. I need to talk to you. Important. Not about reconnecting. I just need help. Can we meet?" After confirming through a careful exchange that it was truly Emily and not a manipulation by Melissa, I agreed to meet at a coffee shop in Tacoma Neutral Territory, halfway between our locations. I arrived an hour early, heart-pounding, uncertain whether she would actually appear or what version of my daughter I might encounter after all this time. When she walked through the door, I almost did not recognize her. At 20, Emily had grown tall and composed, her childhood softness replaced by angular determination. She hesitated before approaching my table, assessing me as I fought the urge to rush forward and embrace her. "Thank you for coming," she said formally, taking the seat across from me. No hug, no dad, just polite acknowledgement between strangers. "I am glad you reached out," I replied, struggling to keep my voice steady. Emily got straight to the point. "I need help with college. Mom has spent all the money, even what was supposed to be in the trust fund. She told me you stopped making payments years ago, but I found paperwork showing that is not true." The revelation that Melissa had somehow accessed and depleted the educational trust was shocking but not entirely surprising. What hurt more was that Emily had believed I had abandoned my financial responsibilities to them. "The trust should have been legally protected," I said. "I will contact the trustees immediately to investigate." "There is more," Emily continued, her composure slipping slightly. "Mom has been unstable. She and Jason split up last year, and she has been cycling through boyfriends. The house is being foreclosed on. Sophia and I have been covering the utilities with our part-time jobs." As Emily shared more details of their chaotic home life, I realized the extent of Melissa's deception and mismanagement. The perfect mother image she had projected in court had deteriorated, leaving our daughters to fend for themselves. "Emily," I said carefully, "I want to help. Not just with money, but with whatever you and Sophia need." Her expression hardened. "I am not here for a reunion. I do not want you back in our lives as a father. That ship has sailed. I just need practical help sorting out this financial mess." The words cut deep, but I understood. To her, I was the father who had walked away regardless of the circumstances. "I respect your boundaries," I said, "but I need to ask something. The allegations that were made." Emily looked down at her coffee cup. "I know what you want to ask." "Yes, I lied in court. Mom told me if I did not say those things, we would end up homeless and separated in foster care. She coached me on exactly what to say. Her voice cracked slightly. I was 16 and terrified. Sophia was only 14. What choice did I have? The confirmation of what I had always known brought no satisfaction, only sadness for the impossible position my daughters had been placed in. You were a child being manipulated by an adult you trusted. I never blamed you, Emily. I have blamed myself, she whispered. Every day. We spoke for nearly 3 hours, carefully navigating the delicate space between practical matters and emotional wounds too deep to address in one meeting. I learned that Sophia, now 18, did not know Emily had contacted me, fearful of her reaction. Before leaving, Emily agreed to a follow-up meeting with financial advisors to address the immediate issues of college funding and housing stability. She allowed me to take a single photo of her, a concession that felt monumental in its significance. This does not mean everything is fixed, she cautioned. I am still angry about a lot of things. I understand, I said. Healing happens on your timeline, not mine. The months following that first meeting brought slow, careful progress. I engaged a forensic accountant to trace what had happened to the trust fund, discovering that Melissa had forged documents to access the accounts shortly after I moved away. Legal proceedings were initiated to recover what funds could be traced and to establish new, more secure arrangements for both girls' education. Emily gradually began sharing more about their lives during our periodic meetings, which evolved from strictly business discussions to slightly more personal conversations. She allowed me to help her secure an apartment near her university, accepting practical support while maintaining emotional distance. 6 months after our first meeting, Emily finally told Sophia about our contact. The revelation led to a difficult phone call where Sophia alternated between tearful accusations and hesitant questions about my life. Unlike Emily's pragmatic approach, Sophia's response was raw and emotional, the 14-year-old who had lost her father, still very present in her reactions. "Why did you just leave us?" she demanded. "You could have fought harder." I explained as gently as possible the impossible choice I had faced: continue a legal battle that would subject them to years of traumatic proceedings or step away to give them some chance at stability, even without me present. "I did what I thought would cause you the least harm," I told her. "Every day away from you both has been painful beyond words." Sophia was not ready for a face-to-face meeting, but she began sending occasional texts, small bridges across the chasm of lost years. Pictures of her artwork or brief updates about school performances. Each message was precious evidence that she had not completely closed the door to some form of relationship. With professional help, I established a new trust with ironclad protections, ensuring both girls could complete their education without financial concerns. Emily chose to remain at Washington State studying environmental science while Sophia prepared for her freshman year at Pacific Northwest College of Art. I maintained careful boundaries, never pushing for more contact than they were comfortable with, never criticizing Melissa despite the damage she had caused. Dr. Lowell continued to provide guidance on this delicate navigation. They need to process their mother's actions in their own time, she advised. Criticizing her, however justified, could push them away. They are still reconciling the mother they thought they had with the reality of who she actually is. As Emily's graduation approached, she surprised me with an invitation to attend the ceremony. "Not as family," she clarified, "but you helped make this possible, and it seems right that you should be there." I sat in the back of the auditorium watching with indescribable pride as my daughter accepted her diploma. Afterward, amid the crowd of celebrating families, Emily introduced me to her boyfriend and several friends, simply as Mark, who helped me through college. Not Dad, not Father. Just Mark. I accepted this designation with grace, understanding it represented significant progress from the man who abandoned us or the threat we needed protection from. Sophia, attending the graduation with reluctance, allowed a brief, awkward conversation and a cautious side hug before retreating to the safety of friends. Small steps, but meaningful ones. Throughout this gradual reconnection, I maintained firm personal boundaries. When Emily asked for financial help from Melissa, who had lost her business and apartment, I declined gently but firmly. "I will always help you." "And Sophia," I explained, But Melissa made choices that had severe consequences for all of us. I cannot enable further manipulation. This stance initially created tension but ultimately seemed to earn their respect. They had spent years with a parent who had no boundaries, who used emotional manipulation to achieve her ends. My consistent principled approach offered a different model of adult behavior. On the 5th anniversary of my departure from their lives, I received a text from Emily that signaled a turning point. I told Mom today that the things she made me say in court were wrong. She denied everything, but I know the truth now. I'm sorry, Dad. The simple word Dad felt like permission to hope for true reconciliation someday. Not an erasing of the lost years or the pain, but a foundation for something new. I have learned that parental love sometimes requires painful sacrifice. That sometimes the best thing you can do for your children is to step away when staying would bring them harm. That forgiveness can come in unexpected forms and on unpredictable timelines. My relationship with my daughters continues to evolve. There are still difficult conversations, moments of regression, and wounds that may never fully heal. But there is also growing understanding, tentative trust, and the possibility of a future with them in it. If you have experienced family estrangement or false accusations, know that healing is possible even when reconciliation seems impossible. Sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it comes in forms you would not expect. The key is to maintain your integrity, respect boundaries, and keep your heart open despite the pain. Have you ever had to make an impossible choice for someone you love? Have you experienced betrayal from family members? Please share your story in the comments below. If this account helped you feel less alone in your struggles, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more stories of family challenges and resilience. Share this with someone who might need to hear that even the most painful separations can sometimes lead to new beginnings. Thank you for listening, and remember that love, even when rejected, never truly disappears.